Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We're back.
Hello.
Wake up, Brett.
I'm here. No, I'm David Dino. And I'm here to host yet another excellent stream all about Snake Pass. And today we're going to be talking about art in Snake Pass. The journey we've been on, quite a long journey.
What a journey.
What a journey. Long journey, short amount of time, so very fast. So I'm joined by Andy Ritson, who's our art director on Snake Pass, and Seb. Everyone knows Seb, designer extraordinaire, father of Snake Pass.
He lays the eggs himself.
He laid the eggs himself. So we're going to talk... James, I can't see the chat. So, yes, we're going to talk about the art and the process. So we thought it would be a great place to start with the prototype level. So this was the winning entry to our first game jam this time last year.
Yeah,
So
October last year.
happy birthday,
Yeah.
Snake Pass.
Indeed.
So James, can we cut to the
birthday,
the prototype? Because
Yeah.
what you see here, I mean, you've seen this before, but this is quite an interesting place to start because it looks so different. So Seb, talk us through.
Right, yeah, well, since we're talking about art, I'm not sure how much we can say about this level, because as you can see, art was not really what I was focusing on in the initial
But
prototype.
you do have a lovely snake head there.
Yes, well, yeah, when we came in for the game jam day, the snake actually didn't have a head at all yet. It was
Right.
just a sphere there. So one of the main things we achieved on the day of the game jam itself was actually make the snake head and attach it to the snake. That is what we spent most of the actual game jam day on, trying to get this head attached.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I think the head helped sell it, right? Because it was
Yeah,
helped
without
to
the
make
head,
it look cool rather
yes.
than just a piece of string or a disembodied snake
absolutely.
body. And
Yeah.
who made the head for you?
Chris Barrett.
Chris Barrett. Shout out to Chris Barrett.
Just a day's work. But you can see that the idea that we had at that point for what the art style should be is completely different from what we ended up with.
Yeah. So
This is very much a realistic snake head.
at this point, did you have like an art style in mind, or were you just like?
Well, a little bit, since coming from a biology background and having this super realistic snake motion, and I also, the working title I had for it was Snake Simulator, so I was thinking very much in the direction of realism. So initially, yeah, I thought the game should look very high detailed, natural, realistic look. That was the original idea.
But that all changed quite quickly.
Yeah, that completely changed when I started realizing that snakes are not inherently cute to everyone. Like, I really like snakes. I used to have 2 snakes in university as pets, so I think they're gorgeous animals, but not everybody thinks that way.
And is that something that came out of the feedback you got from the game jam, or is that just hold on a second? Some people are kind of scared of snakes.
Yeah, that was actually one of the main points of feedback that the jurors gave me after it was finished. Like, the whole concept of movement is great, but yeah, it is already creeping certain people out, so we need to try to make everything.
Yeah, can we know who in particular?
No, I don't remember the exact name, no.
So, at this point, after Snake Simulator won the game jam, it got passed over, and you as well, with it, to the concept development team here at Sumo, where you started digging into everything about it, like how the snake moves, and just as importantly, how it looks. So, James, can we bring up the next illustration / demo of where we're going next?
I hadn't even seen it at this point.
At this point,
No. I've only recently seen this.
it's very
We
different.
were busy on another project.
Oh, here we
at the
go.
time.
James is holding up his hand. Oh, it's clicking.
Trying to find it.
So I was part of the concept team at that point, and I was doing something else at the time, but I kept coming over and sitting at your desk, and one of the first things that changed was the snake head. I don't know whether James is going to bring that up. Oh, there's some concept art. That comes later, James.
Oh, sorry.
Can we have the green snake with the goofy looking head?
Yeah.
There. So he kind of looks very different, but there you can see like where Seb started. No, back. Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first. Back.
James!
Yeah, these are all around the same time. This one, the lighting isn't great though. Another one would be better.
So
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, go back. That
Yeah.
one there. Stay on that one. Stay there, James. Steady. So grass became a thing quite quickly.
Yes, yeah. We initially had not much time because the original plan was to try to get something within a month that we could put on Steam. So we didn't really have time to generate loads of assets. So we looked at the free assets that are available, and well, Unreal has this amazing pack, the kite demo pack,
Yep.
which is filled with super nice, high detail, super realistic models of grass,
Is it
trees.
deformable?
No. No, the deformable is something we added later on. But most of this demo was built with assets from that kite demo pack. It's very nice looking assets, and you get this really nice look from it, but it's not stylized at all. So
No.
we had to. Once we realized we were able to put more time in it than that month,
Yes.
we started making our own assets and stepped further and further away from this realistic style.
And of course, at that time as well, we were, I say we, the Royal we were looking into defining what the actual game would be. There was more interest in turning it into an actual game at that point.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit off topic, but these things come together quite soon because we were very lucky to get a concept artist on board who would then go on to develop the foundation of the style moving forward. James, have you got
Yeah.
that piece of concept art? It might be worth actually talking about the hamster and why that came to be, because with the cute snake, we wanted to decreep the snake, and I think we didn't really succeed in that because. So, Seb, you tell the story. It's your story.
Okay, so every level needs to have a level ending, and just like Mario has his flag, and Sonic has his little portal thingy that he triggers, there's always something, a specific element at the end of the level that's consistent between the levels, and that finishes the level for you. So we were looking for something like that, and originally the levels were a lot smaller, and we even considered them playing in a laboratory where there's an evil professor doing experiments with your snake, and then the reward at the end of each level for completing the experiment was a little juicy hamster for you to eat. So in the original demo, the one that we also brought to EGX West, the level completed with you strangling, or actually we later changed it to
Hugging the hamster, because
Strangling still a bit creepy.
it is a little
Yeah.
bit creepy. But in the so when you wrapped around the hamster, hearts would come out, and you'd squeeze him, and he'd fly off and bounce into the next level. You had to catch up with him again and give him another hug.
Yeah.
And it was cute, but still a little bit weird and maybe a little bit too abstract.
Yeah, it was fun for the first time. We had a bunch of people chuckle about it on EGX West, but it was really the type of thing you can't just do that every level, and
No.
it doesn't stay funny.
So this.
Yeah.
Go back one. Oh, there we go. There's the snake.
So this is
hugging the hamster.
in the experimentation phase of how to actually strangle the hamster.
Okay, so we're gonna roll back to art now. So we
Yeah.
were lucky enough to get the time of one of our very talented concept artists here, Paolo.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh God, lost it because I'm on camera. Paolo came on and did us a great piece of concept art, which actually not only did it help cement the style of the game overall, but it actually gave us a design direction as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so when you have just this concept of a game, and there's so many different visual styles that you could apply to it, that was to some extent, I think, overwhelming for us, because most of us that were in that concept team working on it, we didn't really have that much background in art or setting an art style. So we were kind of overwhelmed by all the possibilities that we could do. Like, we could do a laboratory with a scientist, we could do super cartoony and cute, we even wanted maybe almost hand-painted, stylized. So there were so many directions that we could choose from that we didn't really get anywhere until the day that we managed to borrow a concept artist from one of the other projects.
Well, there was that really productive meeting as well where we got you to sit down and think about quite carefully like your influences and what games you enjoyed when you were
that's
a
right,
younger man.
Yeah, we had to condense that down to about 10 screenshots of games that we liked and the look that we liked.
Yeah.
And we gave that to the concept artist, and he came back with one image which completely jump-started the whole art style.
Which we've got, which we're
essentially.
just looking at, James. Not that one. That's the one. Is there a second piece like
No,
that, James?
there's the other one.
No, there is another one.
Don't have it at the minute.
Oh, we don't have it. So, and that's
Oh,
the.
that's great.
So that's a shame, but it was the image that kind of influenced how the levels were going to actually be, like physically. So
Yeah, we had built a level. I think it was your level,
yes,
and we took a screenshot of that. And then we had the presentation of 10 images that we liked. We gave that to the concept artist, and he essentially took a pencil and a paintbrush, and he went over the top of the screenshot and dressed it up according to the images that we gave him.
and quite the important detail there is he took the floor out of the level
Yeah, yeah.
on a
indeed.
whim as well. He was just like, ah.
Yeah, because initially the levels were like a circular arena with a bunch of geometry in it, and every time you fell down, you wouldn't die, you would just land on the floor, and then you had to crawl back to the start point and find your way up again, and then you end up redoing a lot of your gameplay all the time, which was a frustration, but we didn't, for some reason we didn't think of the solution
no,
to
we
just
really
remove
didn't,
the
yeah.
floor until we saw that image without the floor, and we
Yeah.
went like,
I mean, we were building
the
shortcuts
solution.
back up. Oh, you've hit this point, and here's a shortcut.
Yeah.
So if you fall, you can get back up. And then just removing that floor, everyone was just like, of course.
Yeah.
So obvious. Okay.
No, and then at the moment you take that decision, you're kind of stuck with, okay, our islands or our geometry, our levels are now floating. So that immediately takes you miles away from any kind of realistic approach you wanted to do. So that also immediately put us very much into that stylized, cartoony, fairy tale world that we ended up with now. So yeah, that one image was very important for
Oh, hey, there's the level.
whole development.
That's the level. The Paolo painted over. And then that's obviously after we removed the floor, because we were preparing for like EGX and other demos. So Andy, tell us about taking Snake Pass from where it was at EGX to where it is now. Like how has that style further developed? Because see, even if you look at the concept art where it was then and where we are now, there's a huge amount of difference there.
Yeah, it was quite difficult to take an existing style that had been sort of developed but not really fleshed out much. What we'd got was an idea of style from one image, and then we had to make an entire style and world based around that one image. Now, of course, the demo wasn't even considered as a full game, and how we were going to put variation into it for different themes and things like that. So there was fundamentally we had to decide how we were going to make it what's the word, workable as a tool set. Basically, we had to make a tool set out of pieces and break apart the original idea that came from the demo. So that was I think you were heavily involved in that, weren't you, when we were sort of looking at creating a set of blocks which would become the levels. And then these blocks became quite influential in the way that the style developed. So instead of it being sort of everything was bespoke geometry in the original demo, but we moved over to this sort of building block process, which worked for a lot of reasons. But it did sort of develop the style and cement the way that we went forward from there, really.
So a big thing about like the look of Snake, at least for me, is what Seb I think named the wonkification.
That's
parts.
right. Yeah.
How much of a pain is that as an artist to like work? I mean, it's quite. I mean, Snake's the kind of game where like wonky things actually make it play a little bit nicer. Like it hooks the snake just a little bit better. It gives you a little bit more to play with. But in terms of like developing a thing and making it all look like it's going to stand up, even if it's at a funny angle, is that like a difficult thing, or is it just we can do what we want?
Well, I think the reason we came out and described the word wonkification, I'm not sure it's a real word, but it is now.
Here.
Yeah, of course, with cartoon sort of stylized games, you don't want it to look formal, and we were building from very formal cubes, basically blocks, you know. So we need to get character into the pieces. So part of that is to build this sort of wonkificate. I can't think of a better word to describe it actually, but yeah, everything that we build slightly off kilter so that it gives it a slightly more stylized, slightly cartoony sort of look, and it also makes for good gameplay.
Yeah.
Without the formal straight lines.
And the lived-in look of the world as well is another thing that I really, really love about Snake Pass. Like, I feel like you're travelling along the footsteps of something that's come like dozens, maybe hundreds of years before you.
Yeah, well,
was that like a very intentional thing, or is that kind of like a happenstance thing?
It sort of developed out of the blocks. We knew we wanted to create these blocks as a building piece, almost like Lego blocks, if you like. So we've got this tool set, if you like. Sorry, I forgot what you asked
The
me.
lived-in
Yes,
feel
yeah,
of the world.
that was it. Yeah, so now we've got these very square blocks, and we need to make those themselves interesting, since 90% of what you see in the world is going to be made of these blocks. So we've got to make them interesting. So that was the point at which we sort of I'd done some searching for reference material, and found the Aztec-y sort of stuff, which fitted in with the original. The original art. If you've got
Yeah, we should be looking at
we
a
should
level
look.
right now. Seb is
booting
booting the game.
we ended up going with these sort of like really sort of almost hand carved stone blocks, and what it does is it suggests an ancient civilization which we don't actually ever describe. We
No.
leave it ambiguous what the history of the structures is, because it all floats. There's a slightly magical feel to it, but also there's like a suggestion that there's been a civilization there. But from the snake's point of view, he's not aware of any of that, and so you sort of don't need to describe it further because it's not part of his understanding. I'm reading more into his
No, I
personality.
think that's it. I mean, it's
You're
like
right.
to him, it's just
Yeah.
this is in my way, and I'm
This
gonna
is
get
his
through it. Yeah,
world,
this is-
and although we know that there are human-like structures in there, and some sort of things that look like they're built, like the tubes and the switches and things like that, but it's almost as though to the snake they're things that just exist in his world, and he doesn't even question why they're there. They just are there. So yeah, all part of.
We've been very careful as well to avoid putting anything in the world that suggests that there are still humans there,
That's
or
right,
that
yeah,
there's any kind of human influence present in this world.
Yeah.
Like it's a fairy tale world of the snake and the hummingbird,
Yeah.
and that happens to take place in an historic environment, an environment with history, and that's
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, no mention of
humans.
history,
Yeah.
and that's cool. So, what about Snake himself? Noodle, the snake. He started off as a green thing, a real snake almost, and then he's had a few iterations. He had almost that dragon-like head with the funny buck teeth,
yeah, like Goofy.
like Goofy,
Yeah.
and he's evolved into the beauty he is today.
Well, I think it's fair to say that he's gone through a lot of iterations.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way that characters develop. I mean, clearly you want your main character to be strong and identifiable and friendly, and that's actually quite difficult in a snake, because he doesn't. It would seem strange if he wore clothes.
People want him to wear hats.
I
though.
know. Yeah, that's a conversation we've got to have. But so you've only got a limited palette with which to work with the snake, and mainly it all came down to how his face looked. That's where all his personality lives. I mean, his movement and his animation gives him personality as well. But if it was just a static creature, we want him to look strong. So there was obviously a lot of iteration had to go into the head to get that
Yeah.
friendliness and
So here's
expressiveness.
Here's a midpoint
Yeah.
snake.
Yeah, this
I'm pointing at
EGX
a television
Res,
here.
yeah.
So this is our EGX Res test, which was. It's getting there. I think you can see a lot of noodle now. Like you can see some of the noodle now and there, but
Yeah, the first ideas are there, like the big blue eyes, the big smiling mouth. But the whole shape of the head is just nowhere near as interesting and good looking as it is currently. But I remember every time we swapped the head of the snake, like I was so close to this game, so attached to this character that it kind of felt like swapping the head of your dog almost. Like, you could never do that, so every time it hurt me to see him with a different head, and I was hoping that I could grow used to the new head again. And every time, yeah, that definitely happened after 2 days. I was completely used to the new head.
Yeah.
oh, and is that
especially-
concept art we've got up there, James? People at home can see that.
Yes.
Ah,
Especially when we swapped out this head, I wasn't convinced that we could come up with a better head than this.
It's
But
good.
looking at it back now, I can see it so clearly what's not as good about it.
Yeah, there were a few features about this head which I wasn't as fond of. I think his nose was a bit too short, and his eyes are a bit forward facing.
Yeah.
But it was a really good starting point for where we ended up. I think it feels like it was a long way towards being the noodle that we know and I think love now.
Yes.
I
I don't want to speak for everybody else.
I love
but
it.
Yeah, I love the way he looks,
It looks great now. So
especially since he got all his
expressive.
expressions.
Yeah, and the two-tone face I think is great. Just pretty nice.
Yeah, that was just we needed to really bring out his mouth more, so it made sense to give him that. I don't know, on a human figure, on a human character, it might be like a 5 o'clock shadow, like Homer Simpson's muzzle, if you
Yeah,
like.
I found it took me a while to look past that
Yeah.
because that was because the snake's head previously being all one colour. When he had that kind of, like you say, that 5 o'clock shadow,
Yeah.
it's just like, whoa, this is kind of odd looking, but now I love it.
But actually,
It's
where the
great.
idea for that came from was Car from Jungle Book.
Ah,
Almost
of
the
course,
most
yeah.
famous cartoon.
The most famous of snakes.
I think when this one's smiling, you can very well see that it's sort of based on Odie from Garfield.
I think
Definitely has
you
a
can,
lot of
and you can see that in
influence.
the previous concept art as well. So
Yeah.
for Noodle. Right, Seb, I think it's time we probably said goodbye to you. Because you've got places to be, I'm sure. And that means we can introduce Anthea to everyone at home.
Okay.
And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about how we build levels. Although, I mean, if you, I don't know if Anthea
hang
wants to
around
squeeze
for
in,
that.
Okay.
squeeze in the middle.
Bye.
Okay, so bye, Seb. Thanks for joining us, Seb. Or sitting off camera. So, this is
Hey,
Anthea,
guys.
one of our wonderful artists. Sebastian, what are you doing? One of our wonderful artists on Snake Pass, who's involved in arting the levels. So, do you want to tell us about the level building process and what horrors you receive from the designers and
Well,
have to fix?
I wouldn't call them horrors. I mean, we usually get very, white box levels. Like Andy said, there's a lot of the same type of block that's being thrown through the levels that we have to kind of make not look as monotone as they are, and you have to make it look like there's actually a lot of vegetation and other stuff going on. So basically we get a white box level. I tend to just first play through a couple times. Afterwards I start looking at what the interesting places are going to be, where the wisps are in the level, where other collectibles are. And yeah, just based off of feeling mostly, I just drag in some assets. I look what feels right, we actually use a vertex painting, a tool as well, so that way we can easily paint moss and grass and other stuff like that. So that really helps up break the repetition.
That again comes back down to the blocks that we created. I mean, all the level is basically made out of these blocks of various sizes. And the reason we need so many different sizes is because the detail on the master remain the same size. So if you want a bigger block, you have to actually use a bigger block with more of the detailing on it. Yeah, so you can only stretch them to a certain thing. But what we did was, when we created this set of blocks, we put quite a complex shader on, which has got multiple layers which you can sort of paint through from stone to moss and earth. What that does, it allows you to basically sit underneath the grass. You can paint the grass colour so that as the, I don't know whether I'm being too technical, but as the lods change for the grass to lower quality, the colour that's underneath the grass starts coming through more. So as you pull out, you can't quite detect the changes as readily. So a lot of work went into these blocks. It may not look like it because they're basically the ground that you sit on, and you're supposed to not really notice them that much. But actually, quite a lot of the early work went into the development of these blocks. The way that the moss lays in the cracks on those blocks, that all has to be set up with vertex colour controlling the way that the colours blend. Yeah, quite a lot of technical stuff had to go into the creation of something as mundane as a block.
So would you? So you've worked on this.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
And from my outsider's view, this feels very technical. There's a lot of tech there, rather than say some of our previous games where we go in and we build everything by hand.
Bespoke.
Every single piece is a bespoke thing, and then to build a world. Here it's like not procedural, but you're doing a lot with quite little.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, we've got a fairly limited team in size, art-wise and designer-wise. So we just had to come up with a method which nets us the biggest bang for buck, if you like. A way that we spend more time setting it up, and then you basically got all the tools for almost anybody to build a level. There's probably a loaded answer in that.
I'm just going to let it slide. They let me build levels at one time, so yes, it's not an inaccurate summation there.
Yeah, but it was a lot of this is about maximising the amount of level you can build from a fairly small. Well, it's quite extensive, but a fairly small set of tools, really. And it also then just becomes about changing a few parameters to achieve completely different looks for the other elements, which I know haven't all been revealed yet, but I mean, something as simple as changing the grass colour and the painted colour underneath and the rocks, we can use the same tool set and come up with quite a nice variation, changing the ivy to be a different sort of climbing plant. It's all fairly easily changed, probably understating how difficult it can be to come up with something as seemingly trivial as that. But it is just about using what you've got as many different ways as you possibly can.
Has that changed? I mean, have you ever worked that way before? Has it
Never worked this way
been
before.
a challenge to
No.
sort of get your head into that way of working?
Yes, at times it has been. Yeah, I'm used to working on stuff where everything that you build, you sort of spec it up and it gets built as a bespoke piece and goes into a fully bespoke level, and everything is used almost just once. That's not entirely true, but pardon?
Tiles.
Yes, yeah. I have worked on a thing where we've used tiles, haven't I? But it is all just about maximising the amount of stuff you can get out of a small tool set, really. And I think we've done really well with
beautiful.
Yeah, you know, I'm very happy with where we've got to. Using a fairly small, limited tool set. I think using the stuff that you've got creatively as well. And I mean, this is one of the things that I think the designers have done very well when they white box stuff out. They've created these blocks of land which are gameplay and used them in ways that I hadn't even thought of these blocks being used, which is really great that you create the tools and then somebody uses them and you think that's brilliant. I hadn't foreseen that, you know. So yeah, I mean sometimes that can be frustrating.
Yes.
They can get misused.
Yeah.
Seb's smiling off screen, but
We won't mention switches or anything like that. We'll keep that to a thing.
Yeah.
So, Anthea, is your background technical, or are you more of a bespoke creation kind of
Well,
artist?
I enjoy doing both, really. You know, I've done a lot of asset creation, you know, for this project as well, which you can probably see when it comes out, because I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about that. But I have a lot of experience with Unreal as well, which is what we're happening to use right now. So I knew how all the materials were set up, you know, I knew my way around vertex painting and getting materials done, you know, instances and stuff like that to, you know, to optimize the levels a bit more.
I'll just say that I've been in this industry since God was a lad. A long time, so 25 years or something like that. And Anthea's come here and she puts me to shame on the Unreal stuff. This is the first time I've ever used it on this project. So I'm having to go to Anthea to get advice on how to do things in Unreal.
I respect that you haven't used the "I'm a lead, I don't need to know this stuff" excuse.
No,
That's my get out of jail card
It's
every
the fact
time.
that
It's like, I don't need to know
I'm
this.
rubbish
You
at
need to
Unreal
know
at the
this.
moment. Basically, I have to ask. I do find myself tied up in knots, trying to find my way around some of the stuff in Unreal.
Well, it's-
I'm really enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah, it's a really nice engine.
It is.
Love working with it.
Yeah.
James, do we have any questions from the chat?
No.
No, the chat is quiet today. Where's my Kappa's chat? Terrible. Okay, right. I'm kind of out of questions myself. Is there anything else, anyone, you know, you want to draw our attention to? Anything super cool that people might not have noticed?
Oh gosh.
What we haven't talked about yet, which I do think has been a pretty big influence on the art style.
I'm not sure if we can hear you, so hold on, I'm going to move the microphone.
Hello. So something we haven't mentioned yet, but which has been a constant influence on the art style, is the fact that our snake is so depending on the collision.
Right.
Because everything we put in the world is something that the snake can interact with, and the snake doesn't handle sharp corners in
No,
a
that's
very
right, yeah.
great way. So everything you see in the world has nice, rounded, smooth edges, which also contributes quite a bit to the look, I think.
That's right, it
And
does,
is
yeah.
kind of forced to us by the character.
I think it's worth noting that the curvier things are, the easier snake moves around us, which is part of the challenge of the gameplay, is making sure you have curves. Think like a snake, make your body curvy, and you move faster, you climb quicker, you climb higher.
That can be a challenge as well, but you know, for the artists, because you can get a request in for something which you traditionally think of as having sharp edges, and then you've got to realise it in a way which doesn't cause problems for the snake. You know, carved figures, and I mean even the plants can be. So we've got some plants which are collidable, others which aren't, and you've got to be really
Like that
careful.
one.
Yeah, you see that one's one where you don't collide, but
Yeah.
you can get tied up in these things. So everything can be problematic for the snake's movement.
I think we have a few of those sharper edged rocks as well.
Yeah.
And I want to put them in the levels every time because I think they look very nice and pretty because they have a little crack in them, you know. But then every time I show it, like to Seb, for example, he scolds me for using them because they're too edgy.
Well, I have got a task which is to round off the corners on the gate,
Yeah, I
which
see
is
that
something
one.
that everybody goes to every
Yeah.
single time,
Yeah.
and it's got some fairly sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
Yeah.
I've got to go back and deal with the collision on that and make it much more friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, though, if you look at those, they've got a beveled edge, but
Yeah.
they're not rounded enough for gameplay reason.
Yeah, and that's something we keep running into until the very end.
That's it. You don't always know which bits don't play very well until somebody's run through it.
Yeah.
James, how are we for time, James? Are we good? Okay,
5 minutes.
we've got 5 more minutes.
I brought
That's
some
gone
images.
quite quickly,
We
It
actually.
has gone very
go through
quickly.
them.
Yeah.
If
It's
there's
been very
anything
enlightening.
interesting
Yeah,
there.
good. Good.
What are we bringing up now, Sam?
Oh, I sent through a couple of older images. I think there's some
Oh yeah.
worth looking at.
Again, some of these things, it's the first time I've even seen them myself, because I wasn't involved right at the
Yeah.
very beginning. So a lot of these images, these are new to me.
Yeah, just so this is during the concept team, and you can see this is all built with the kite demo assets, and you can also see the original collectible here still, the golden egg.
eggs.
Yes. And this is working towards the EGX Res demo, so this is still with the old block set, and well, you can. One of the things
Oh,
I think you
snakes,
can.
wow.
A big difference is everything looks more messy in these old screenshots because the assets are so different. And once we had this uniform set of blocks, everything calmed down. Like the whole scene becomes more easy on the eyes, more
Yeah.
calm to
Yeah.
read, and that was still nice. I kind of like that messy look as well.
It is quite a nice style still.
The colors just aren't as nice as we have now.
No.
No.
Get that off the screen, James. Shame on you.
This is
sir.
my,
Shame on
my
you.
Photoshop skills.
What was that? I can't even remember.
I
what
don't
that was
remember
called.
why I made it, but it was hilarious at the time. Again, here you see the goofy head, the first one we made after the prototype.
Was
Yeah.
so we had the green head, and then this was just after you'd gone away and figured out what colour and what
Yeah.
species.
Yeah, indeed.
of
Yeah,
snake
the
it
skin
was.
is still old here as well.
Yeah.
And this is when the first assets came in. That's why I made the screenshot. So this was after about a day of swapping out the grey box blocks with the first actual art assets, and I was super excited to actually see real trees. Well, they don't even have leaves yet, but
It's a
yeah, I
start.
remember I took that screenshot because it felt like a milestone to see finally a level from grey box into arted version. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny how you can be so happy with something and then I look back
You
at
look
it
back
a
and it's
couple
like-
months later and it's like, oof.
It's just an iterative process,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know, as you go along, it always improves. Every day is another improvement.
Yeah, again, this is the kite demo assets. And yeah, just the power of Unreal you can see on these screenshots. Like there's
Oh,
barely
yeah.
anything there. But just the lighting and the way the materials get rendered in Unreal is just so nice.
And this
And you get
was-
that almost for free just because you're using
This was
Unreal.
like you and James at that point.
Yeah.
Really. Just you and James doing that stuff.
Tweaking the default options
Yeah.
and learning as we go.
Learning Unreal.
This is something I'd like to do when playing with colors and lighting. So I'll take screenshots before I start changing stuff, and then I'll take screenshots on the same locations after I change stuff to make sure that what I did is actually an improvement. So this was during some of the lighting
We have
passes.
screenshots now, James.
Really trying to get that bright, vibrant color palette in it. That was the main purpose of this slight upgrade.
Oh, he's sleeping.
Yeah, that's the first picture I put online of the snake. So proud.
He's
Still am.
He's still a bit cute.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point to end. Well, at the beginning, more or less, with the snake. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what have we got coming up
What have we got? What now or next week?
next week?
Next week, James. What's next week? We're having another snake stream, and the real David Dino will be here, I think. Is that right? Or is he still on holiday?
No, he's on holiday
Real?
still.
Oh, is he? Oh, but it's not me either, is it?
No.
I'm not going to be here next week. Praise everybody. We can all be grateful for that. So next week we have the evolution of Noodle from game jam to full production. and Seb will be joining us, and our creative director Sean Millard.
That's
will
going to be
here
interesting.
That'll be fun. That'll be really fun.
You have to know Sean to make sense of what I've just
to,
said.
to talk you through how we creatively drove this thing from the nugget of an idea to a fully fleshed out game that will ship in early 2017. And it would be remiss of me not to say that if you are in San Francisco or in a drivable distance, we are at Day of the Devs. Let me check my cards. Come see us at Day of the Devs, run by Double Fine and I Am 8-Bit. At the Midway in San Francisco. You can Google the address. It's on Google. I checked. Yes, we'll be there all day. It's free entry, I believe, and there's a ton of games, and it will be awesome. And David Dino, the real David Dino, will be there, and you can meet him.
Not the fake rubbish one.
Not this terrible facsimile of, but the real David Dino will be there, and you can say hi, and you can ask him all kinds of sneaky questions, and get your hands on the game. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
very much for joining
Hope
us.
to see you later.
I'm sorry for not being David Dino.
We are.
Next time you see me, I will be David Dino, so hooray. Okay.
Rock and roll. Ciao.
Bye now.
everybody. Bye.